Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to the TML Season 8 Placement Show. We are here, of course, tonight to run you through who is going to be placed in what tier in terms of the divisions, in terms of how many divisions we also have, and in terms of showing you the calendar and all the good things that come with it as well. As you can tell, my name is James Head. I'm going to be taking you to the stream, as always, on a Sunday night. Feels weird going to be saying that, of course, with the calendar coming up. But joining me in the commentary box, as it says there on the graphic, I'm joined by a few guests. First of all, Mr. Funky Chicken.
Good evening, everyone.
And then we've got Mr. Conti.
Yeah, good evening.
And last but not least, we've got the Dane himself. It is Mr. Neymar.
Good evening.
And there we have our special guests for tonight. And hopefully you guys are going to be tuning into the stream and you're absolutely droves predicting, of course, who's going to be in what tier in terms of the actual placements coming into tonight. What we're going to run through first and foremost, though, is the actual calendar for this season, as I just messed up my OBS slightly, so I need to get to the calendar very quickly indeed. And there is the calendar for the 12-round calendar. It's already been announced, of course. If you haven't seen the calendar, this might come as no shock to you whatsoever. But we are starting in Bahrain in roughly 2 weeks' time on the 25th and the 26th of August. All races, by the way, this season are taking place on Thursdays. That's F1 and F2 on Thursday at 8 PM UK time, and then on Friday at 8 PM UK time. I'm glad to say as well, all races will be live on the League Racing TV channel, so you'll have multiple streams at any one time on any given night as well. Looking through the calendar, though, obviously we've got Bahrain, Hungary, first 2 rounds of the championship, then Canada for round 3, Azerbaijan, the first sprint race. Don't come at me in the comments section, whatever you do, because I chose this for sprint race. Was going to be Canada, but we decided to go round 4 instead. Belgium for round 5, then Miami for round 6, Suzuka round 7. We've got a breaks week in between there as well, in between Miami and Suzuka. Monza for the second sprint race on the for round 8 on the 20th and 21st of October. Silverstone for round 9, Marina Bay for round 10. That's in Singapore, of course. Mexico in round 11, and then Abu Dhabi, not the wrong spelling that is showing on the graphic there. Not Abu Dhabi. Dubai? No, it's the Abu Dhabi. We are there for round 12 of the championship. And I'm going to come to you first, Chicken. Bahrain, obviously starting off the season. What do the drivers have to look forward to there?
There's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of high-speed sections, but also a lot of low-speed sections, and the traction is very difficult around that track. But it's also one of the best on the calendar for racing, so I think that's the main thing the drivers can look forward to.
Yeah, definitely so. I've commentated on a few races around Bahrain so far on the new game. I've got to say, honestly, Car Killer Corner will kill quite a few cars potentially out on track. The curbs are deadly around Bahrain, so it's obviously going to be a very good, interesting start to the season. Conti, I'm going to come across to you. Obviously, a 12-round calendar this season. All races are going to be happening at 8 PM UK time. Any particular favourites there that you have amongst? Because obviously, we've got 2 sprint races this season as well.
Yeah, well, I must say, with the new track layout of our season finale in round 12, Abu Dhabi, I think that's the best track around the calendar to race on this season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Abu Dhabi, obviously, only 16 corners, I think, now, instead of 21. Round 12 of the championship. That's if, of course, championship battles go as far as round 12. It hasn't done in the past normally in TML. Neymar, however, I'm going to come across to you. Mention about the 2 sprint races, Azerbaijan and Italy. Obviously going to be double points, basically, for those races with a sprint point system and, indeed, the feature race point system. Round 4 and round 8, pretty much a third of the way and a second and a third of the way through the championship as well. Azerbaijan and Italy will come as a bit of a shock to the drivers.
Absolutely. I think Azerbaijan can really make some challenging things. As you also see, it's a lot of walls there, so a lot of mistakes to happen and a lot of points to lose, especially when there's 2 races.
Yeah,
and Italy can really make some drama, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off there. My mistakes. Apologies there, Neymar. I think we caught the gist of that, though. Obviously, Azerbaijan is the track I unfortunately chose for the sprint race. So, as I say, don't come at me in the comments section. You can put out your frustration out on track on the 15th and 16th of September for that one. Now I'm going to come back to you guys as well. Chicken, first and foremost. Races there. What are we looking for in terms of potential races of the season?
So there's, as you said, there's a few standout tracks, but the ones that normally provide great racing are your tracks like Abu Dhabi, Belgium, and surprisingly this game, Suzuka. There's a fair few overtaking opportunities, so I'd say they will be the top 3 for this season to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. Conti, what about you?
Yeah, well, again, Abu Dhabi, but I must say Miami, new track with a really difficult second sector, but some, well, real risky overtaking opportunities there on really, really high speed. So I like that one. And I'm always a fan of like the old school tracks as Silverstone that always provides good racing there.
Yeah, it's always good around there. Always good to see some DRS trains in actual effect there as well in Silverstone. And that, of course, is round 9 of the championship. Neymar, last but not least, any races that you're looking forward to this season?
I'm really looking forward to Silverstone and Yes Marina, because that's pretty much a new track, you can call it. And I think Miami too, because it's totally new. Can't wait to see how people race there and how the overtake situation is going to be.
Yeah, of course, I will first visit to Miami as well. Of course, in some leagues that I've commentated on, normally fills in the American doubleheader, of course, with the Circuit of the Americas. And then, of course, in the new game, I think next year, they're going to be adding Las Vegas, of course, in as a brand new track, which should be potentially very good to see indeed. Enough waffling on about the calendar, though. We are now prepared to announce the first division of placement, and that, of course, is Formula 4. All races this season and all streams, as well as all tiers this season, will, of course, be sponsored by Next Level Racing. And you saw the actual rig that the drivers in F1 are potentially going to be winning by out on track as well. So that is an exclusive to all of you guys in F1 who might be going that way. But I'm now going to hand you over to Mr. Chicken to take you through Formula 4. I think that's who I was going to hand over to anyways for Formula 4. So let us talk through then the driver lineup.
Okay, so first of all, we've got Great Elmer, who is formerly known as Passozer in F1, and we've got Andy Campbell, RLS Kiki, SAKHIR, LRE Dan, Axel Chris, Go72 UK, also known as Storm72 UK, and we've got OWR Atlas Copa, OWR Preb, and Janzu_96 as our first 10 drivers, or first 10 full-time drivers in F4 season. And the second-hand side of the screen, we've got LRE Storm, Yella Giesen, TTML Steve WG, I Am Silas, Damiles, TTG Maze, OFR Maximus, Ecosblats, and Maximum Attack. And our only reserve in F4 this season is OWR Satmi King.
Indeed, it is. And I'd like to see how the vacant driver also gets on as a full-time seat in F4. Of course, Chicken, you're going to be commentating on the action alongside Conti in F4, so I'm going to come straight to you guys first in terms of opinions. Looking at that driver lineup, not many changes compared to last season. We've got the likes of Maze in there. We've got the likes of LRE Storm, who returns, of course. Yella Geese, and potentially a title favourite. Chicken, I'm going to come across to you first. Any names stand out there in terms of potential champions?
So I've got top 3 drivers in mind at the moment. One of them is one of my best mates I know in this league racing community, and that's TTML Steve WG, who was in F3 last season, but just fallen down to F4, not played the game as much as he'd probably have liked. And then the second one was also TTG Maze. He was the main title contender to It's Jamie last season and put up a great fight, but just unfortunately fell a bit too short. And the final one, the other title contender from last season, Go72 UK, who was also known as Storm72 UK.
Yeah, definitely. I think, honestly, in terms of an opinion, I'll come to Conti, though, first before I tell you about my possible standout candidates. Conti, over to you. Who do you think's going to maybe wrap up the title in F4?
Yeah, that's a pretty difficult question. I mean, the guys, Funky Chicken, already called out are really fast drivers, and we've seen them racing multiple seasons in TML. But I think guys like Atlas Copo or Kiki, when he finds his feeding again, you can't call them out. You can't. They're always a black horse for the title there.
Yeah, definitely. Kiki obviously struggled, I think, last season in F4. Certainly, I commentated on a few races towards back end of the season as well. Key wasn't at home with the game. Hopefully, with a few weeks now under his belt on this current game cycle, obviously being placed in F4 again, he potentially could be there. I was going to say Atlas Copa as well. I think Atlas Copa could be nearly a dead certainty, I think, for the championship. For the OWR man, unfortunately, of course, with the likes of Neymar and everyone moving up. Neymar, of course, will come to your placement in a while. In terms of obviously standout names as well, Cygate potentially could be a very good driver to see. Of course, he showed glimmers of hope with podium finishes last season as well. And then, of course, we've got a returning face in Andy Campbell. Of course, debuted, I think, halfway through the season in F4 last season. Andy, a very strong driver. How do you think he'll get on, obviously, with him now returning to the track as opposed to being in the commentary box? To anyone that may answer me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've seen Andy race on what's the game called again? The Japanese game. Oh, well, I raced with him there, and he's really smart driver. He's not always the fastest, but it's a really fast drive, and he knows his moment. He knows how to pick them. So yeah, I think he can do really well there. But yeah, I haven't seen him racing on F1, so I can't be completely sure about where he will end up in the season.
Yeah, definitely. So we haven't got an opinion, by the way, from Neymar in terms of the F4 grid. Neymar, I'm going to come over to you. Who do you think, in terms of the drivers that we've got obviously on the graphic there, do you think is going to produce the best performances? Because we've already alluded to the likes of Mays and Yellow Geeson being up there.
Yeah, I think Atlas Gogo too. He's really a driver that has a lot of respect when he races, and he's always there to keep consistent points. And I think Kiki, as Conti also said, could be a potential challenger for something.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Atlas Copo, obviously, very strong driver, formerly in F2 as well. I think 2 seasons ago, along with Shonas as his teammate there. And Atlas Copo, obviously, being in the second assist tier, of course, we'll come on to F3 in a little while. Final predictions from you, though, guys. Top 3 I'm wanting from each and every one of you. Mr. Chicken, over to you first.
Okay, I think I've already said my top 3, but I'll say Steve WG will pick up the championship, Go 72 UK will come in 3rd, and I'll change it up. I'll say Atlas Copo will come in 3rd.
Interesting indeed. Conti, what about you?
Oh, putting me on the spot there. Well, top 3. Don't hold hold me on the artist, completely random, but I'm saying Atlas Copo, Mace, and Steve.
Interesting. So 2 votes for Atlas Copo, 2 votes for Steam. Neymar, you get the deciding vote. Your top 3, please.
I say for third, I say Steve. For second, I think I go for Mace, and then I go for Atlas Gogo for the championship. I think he can deliver some consistent points that will bring him the way further.
Yeah, definitely. So I think obviously it's going to be fascinating. As we alluded to there as well, 8 PM UK time, the action you can catch live on League Racing TV. And 2 of my guests here, of course, Chicken and Conti, are going to be taking to the action provisionally for F4. And the commentators lineup, of course, is still not decided for all divisions. Currently for F3, we've got Ivan in, and Ivan currently, I don't think, can make Fridays, so we might be a little bit on the edge there. Speaking of F3, though, we're going to come straight to F3, and Conti, I think I'm coming over to you, aren't I? I hope I am, or is it Neymar? I don't know. I forgot the order.
I think it's me, if I'm honest.
Let's have a look. Is it you? Let's have a look. I need to have a look at the order that I posted in about half an hour ago. It is indeed Neymar. Neymar, over to you for F3.
Absolutely, it's really an interesting grid. It sounds like we have AC Immortal, GMAC, Siege, NXJ, Nixie, Yaham, Real Party, It's Jamie, AEG Legenda, Matt Tibbers, Conte, APO Lucas, Yogi, Regard, Steve Rose, Al Honeybadger, Olitex, Tornheim, Sigurd Andersen, and Apple Dawn. And then we have Robin as a reserve, NSR Bradley, Leslie, and Shutter. So yeah.
Yeah, very strong lineup, of course, for F3 this season. Of course, the top assist tier as well. You might have worked out, of course, the other tiers that are going to come. Neymar, I'm going to come back to you first. Any standout names there? Because it's Jamie, of course, F5 champion, F4 champion, now up to F3. He can't do the treble, can he?
Let's see. It's a new game. It's a new start for everyone. So he got a potential as everyone else. They had to learn the game.
Yeah, they have to indeed learn the game, and it's Jamie, of course, potentially a strong contender for the championship. Of course, he had a good fight with Noah J last season as well. We've got the likes of Roygard in there. We've got the likes of Conti. You're in there. Let us know what you're thinking for F3.
Yeah, well, it's a really, really long stride, long, long lineup there. So yeah, I'm really excited to see to race all these guys, and I'm well, some familiar faces as well. I mean, I haven't seen Siege race for a long time, so I'm excited to see him back in TML. Honey Badger, who well always did the graphics and stewarding, but he's racing as he's racing again, and so yeah, really strong lineup, and yeah. For some title contenders, I think there are multiple, but yeah, I need to pull in Honey Badger there because he's just really, really fast. Just yeah, sometimes he loses the car halfway the race and it's all over. So if he can keep that under control, he will be a title contender. Siege, because of what I've seen from him in the past, and then yeah, maybe Matt Tibbles as a title contender.
Yeah, Matt Tibbles is already striking out to me. Certainly has been one of the drivers to obviously watch out for. I think in terms of the lineup here, he normally is quite quick. I believe though, certainly in LOE, I think he's reserved now, if I'm not mistaken. So he hasn't been putting much time in as one might have thought. And his pace normally speaks for itself. He's normally quite up there in terms of the pace. And it's going to be interesting. As you say, Conti, I think it's a very wide lineup for F3 this season. Chicken, I'm going to come across to you. I was going to go back to Neymar again. Any standout names from your perspective? Because Powdy, I think, could be an interesting contender as well.
I've not seen much of Powdy from last game, but I know when he did drive, I think he got some solid results. But I've got three in mind: Siege, Yarham, because he was very strong last game, but I don't think was able to challenge for the title in the end. And if he can sort out his addiction to spinning, I think Honey Badger could also be in the fight for the title.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't try and go side by side with somebody going up into the castle section. And somebody who's speaking right to you right now, obviously try to go side by side with them. Didn't really work. We haven't got video footage, luckily, to show you, of course, on the stream about that. But yeah, Honey Badger, I think, is a very interesting contender potentially. I'm going to throw a real rogue name out in terms of this. Torrenheim. Now, we did F4 a couple of seasons back, I think. Conti, I think you were alongside me for a couple of these races. And Torrenheim, the Norwegian, he produced some absolute stunning performances back in the day. I think he then got banned from the league, which is why he's obviously came back this season. Torrenheim is a big, big contender, I think. If he can put his performances in, if he can put his consistency in, Conti, he could be a potential contender as well.
Yeah, definitely. Him, and I believe he had 2 or 3 brothers driving as well. They were really, really fast. And yeah, I haven't seen much of him lately, so I'm not sure how he does in this game. But as you said, a couple of seasons ago, he was up there just every qualifying and after qualifying in the race as well. So yeah, really quick guy as well.
Yeah, Jamie, by the way, saying in the comment section, this is live, by the way, so we can look through the comment section as well. Jamie's saying, I've been playing too much FIFA, so you know this, and that's unfortunate to hear because we want to provide more time into F1 rather than on FIFA. But I know priorities and everything are the key of the times. Conti, I'm going to come across to you first in terms of a top 3. You can't put yourself in there, unfortunately. But who for you are you most worried about racing, obviously, out on track in terms of overall pace?
Oh, yeah, I have to say Honey Badger. Well, Matt Tibbles he's a reserve now, right? You just mentioned.
He was in LOE,
he was also a bit. Well, maybe Siege and well, let's put in Torrenheim there. Let's see if he can produce what he did a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, I think he can. I honestly think he can. The Norwegian is, as a driver, obviously, that can obviously produce really strong performances, and I'd like to think he can produce the same once again. Neymar, I'm going to come across to you next. Top 3 from you?
I think this is really hard because it's really pro prediction, but I think we can get up to a 5-way battle in this championship. So to get 3 people in there, I think CPI Anderson, really a guy we haven't talked about yet. Really stayed out of fleet racing in a year and is now back. I think he really can produce some good races. Torrenheim, I heard from you, have been doing really good, so I think he could get second. And for first, I think that's actually really hard. I'd say Honey Badger for the win.
Interesting, interesting. Everyone seems to be going down the Honey Badger camp, it seems. Our Dutchman, of course, he has no affiliation, no more, to League Racing TV in terms of the overall graphics, so we can say what we want about him doing the business out on track. Anderson, though, there, Neymar. Talk us more about him, because I believe he's obviously been racing in the Danish leagues as well.
Actually, I don't race in any Danish league, only from now on, so I can't tell. But I know he has raced in a few Danish races, and he really showed pace. Also race a lot with them, so I know his pace. And I know he just started on this game, switched his team to CPI, as you can see. And I think he's really at the hunt for some wins and a potential championship.
Yeah, interesting indeed. And Chicken, finally, coming over to you. Who is your top 3 for F3?
Yeah, as Neymar said, I think there's probably going to be a 5 or a 6-way battle for the title here. But if I had to pick 3, I'd say Siege will finish in first, Jahan will finish in second, and Matt Tibos will finish in third.
Interesting. We'll have to see, of course, how these predictions get on. F3, as we alluded to, Ivan Tonchik due to be taking to the action for F3, depending on if he can make Fridays, of course. If he can't, then I might imagine it might be moved to Thursdays to obviously mention that, obviously. But currently, Fridays at 8 p.m. UK time for F3 for the top assists tier. Now, of course, we move over to Formula 2, or Division 2, of course, and Chicken. Now, we're going to come across to you, I think, for this one for Division 2.
I think it should be Conti, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it?
I've had a quick check again.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, it is. It's Conti. Goodness me, I'm getting mixed up. You can tell it's live. I haven't slept that well. Conti, over to you, my friend.
Yeah, let's put it on the heat. It's so warm. Brains don't function when it's that warm. But yes, line only, Formula 2, with a great lineup as well. I mean, on the left-hand side, you have Superman, EKJ Tom, Andrew Cry, TNR Theo, FNR Haukbo, Amadi, FNR Ryu, TTG Jorg, Sergeant Cake, and Cam. And then the second row is Nick Joosten, LRE Tam, DET Links, Matt Jonas, TNF Steph, Nicholas Steinman, Wolbig, IRL Dandy, Noisy33, and J707J. And then, wow, we've got a lot of reserves. So that's a good thing because we can always have a full grid here. LFR Luke Lira, Rikel Links, TNR T Jonas, ODD Wyken, URL Chris, Mashiro, LFR Marnix, and Dark Inferno 373.
Yeah, very strong lineup. I've got to say, it's the only line-only tier this season for season number 8 as well. And Conti, I'm going to come straight back to you. I honestly think this is potentially the best lineup I think we've got for Formula 2 in 3 or 4 seasons, I think, of actually having some of these drivers in. Tam, of course, F3 champion last season, making that step up to F2, making the step up as well to line only. Going to be interesting to see how he gets on, first and foremost.
Yeah, definitely a quick guy, but well, right beside him, there are some quick guys as well. I mean, I've seen some Simply Superman race in the 2 pre-season races we had, of which he won one, and well, the other one he came in top 3, I believe, in the podium. I'm a D, always fast. Jorg, I believe he's a either won a constructors title or was a drivers champion. I'm not sure anymore. Cam, who's really fast in his day, Dundee, on who I commentated together with Funky Chicken multiple times. Really a qualifying cannon. In the race doesn't always come together, but he really has some raw speed. Wolby, who's fast and well, intelligent on track, and you've got Matt Jonas. So yeah, real big lineup of just big names there.
Yeah, definitely so. And honestly, I'm looking at one man in particular in terms of this lineup. Mad Jonas, German, obviously fought with Tam last season in F3. I thought for majority of that season he was actually going to win the championship. He was that quick. He took the fight to Tam. Obviously, Tam got the better of him that day. Mad Jonas, though, Chicken, interesting, obviously, ploy with him battling with Tam last season. Very quick driver in his day. I think, honestly, if he's up there in terms of the early part of the season, he could destroy this field.
Yeah, and I remember racing him a few seasons ago when I was in Division 2, as it was known back then, and the speed that man has is absolutely stunning. So I think he could definitely be one of the top few contenders for the title this season. But another driver I think shouldn't go under the radar is Volby. 'Cause if I'm not mistaken, he used to be in Division 1 back on F1 2020, and he was by far one of the quickest drivers in that division. So I think he's got a very good shot at winning the title this season.
Yeah, definitely so. And yeah, Volbeek's definitely, of course, formerly part of TTG, if I'm not mistaken. He might still be, certainly not on the graphic there. But Volbeek, as you say, F1 2020, very quick driver. I believe he also came a couple of podium finishes back then as well. So he's obviously got experience. And then we've got the likes of Nick Houston, Ray Neymar, who obviously we know from F2. You knew from racing last season as well. Nick Houston, if he shows any sort of pace like he did in the back half of last season, he could be a title contender easily as well.
Yeah, absolutely could. I think he's really found some more pace the last couple of months. So absolutely right. And I think we could have like 4 to 5 title contenders. So many strong people.
Yeah, definitely. So Ray, by the way, in the comment section as well, saying Andrew K FNR confirmed. FNR_Cray is his new name as well. So that is very good to see. And Ray also saying look out for FNR Hawkbow as well. I might have pronounced that and butchered that, to be honest, in terms of that. I'm not Norwegian, as you can probably tell. But FNR, of course, are going to be taking over in terms of F2 this season. Tam also saying a strong lineup. And Menno, of course, who supports Noisy and Jorg in there. Are they going to be potential teammates once again, forming up that constructors pairing? We'll have to wait and see, of course. Conti, I'm going to come back to you first. Top 3, please.
Oh yeah, well, as in every division, it's really difficult to call out a top 3, but I think it's gonna be Volbeek, simply Superman, and yeah, the third one is really difficult. I'm going for Matt Jonas.
Matt Jonas, yeah. Chicken, over to you.
Well, Conti just stole my top 2, so I'm going to flip them around and say simply Superman will finish first, Volbeek will finish second, and TTG Org will finish third.
Interesting indeed. And Neymar, of course, you've had experience of racing some of these guys last season. Who do you think will come out on top in F2?
I think TTG York for P3, and then I think Matt Jonas for second, and simply Superman for the win.
Interesting stuff. Mashiro also saying Superman is the only contender here. Of course, remember, he was a Constructors' Champion last season with Aston Martin, even though he switched from Ferrari to Aston Martin at the back half of the season. Yona picked up so many points in Aston Martin, he obviously decided to be his teammate, and simply Superman cannot be ruled out in terms of a title contender there as well. The reserves as well, Mashiro's obviously in there, very quick driver in his day. You will Chris, I know quite well, from FRL, he's normally a quick driver up there, and then Luke Lira, who might be he might just be obviously the underdog, I think, of the reserves in there. I know he's a very quick driver there as well. Before we move to Division 1, we're going to whet our appetite a little bit further and take you through, of course, with our sponsors, Next Level Racing. So we're going to be back in around 30 seconds' time. Welcome back, everyone, to the Season 8 placement show for TML, sponsored by, of course, Next Level Racing. And now we move on to the creme de la creme of TML this season. And I, of course, have got the honour to take you through Division 1 this season. And it's going to be fascinating, of course, to see out on track what these guys can do. So without further ado, let me run you through, of course, the driver lineup that we have got for you in Division 1 this season. And first and foremost, we have got Gaines Class. So from the left-hand side to the right, we've got Gaines Class, formerly QRT Yona. Very interesting contender already. We've got FRL Hawk, RAC Elliott, Carlsbury, TTG Benny, ERT Nitro, Nathan VD Burke, or Nathan VD, TTG Neymar, you're in there weirdly in F1, Charlie Harris, and then we've got on the left-hand side as well, right down the bottom, Likala, and then on the right-hand side, we've got TF Blackbox, Harry Banks returns to F1, Dara also in there, Forza Brendan, newcomer to F1 this season, Nathan Clark, Daniel V28, Bas Bramer, TF Kaya, Scott Bugner, and the Iton 10 down there at the bottom end of the field. And then the reserves, of course, plenty of reserves. Guaranteed a full grid, I think, this season, which is good. And Noziek, Samu, Volakongan, Recon, Slimbo, Funky Chicken, Glowstick, Luca, Fleddy, and TL44S are your 10 reserves for tonight in terms of Formula 1. Or not for tonight, anyways, for this season, I should say, in Formula 1. And immediately, I'm going to start off the discussion by saying QRT owner, now obviously gains Class 101, F2 champion last season. What are your thoughts, of course, in terms of racing? And I'm going to come across to Conti first, because obviously you're not racing in Formula 1.
Yeah, no, I'm not. And the other two are. Yeah, well, same here. I mean, some really, really big names there. So yeah, he did good last season or last year, I must say. But he's got some real competitors here. I mean, you've got TTG Benny, Nathan, obviously Neymar, who I've raced with and who I've seen racing. Charlie and Scott are really fast guys. So yeah, Harry Banks, not to forget. So, and even the reserves. I mean, there are reserves here who can really snatch some points away from guys when they are either unable to drive or when they are driving. But you've got some fast reserves in who can snatch maybe a podium away from these guys. So again, it's going to be really, really hard to predict someone as a champion here.
Yeah, speaking of fast reserves, Funky Chicken, coming across to you next. Obviously, F1 as a reserve this season. How are your feelings about seeing that grid?
Well, it's going to be scary for the times I do race because there are many good drivers there. We've got Neymar, as Conti's already mentioned, TTG Benny, Harry Banks, Dara, Forza Brenda, or Forza Brendan as he's formerly known, Carlsbad. There's so many different drivers there. It's going to be very difficult to compete against.
Yeah, definitely so. And honestly, I think it might be might not look on paper as one of the most competitive Formula Ones we've ever had, of course, with the likes of Jensen, with the likes of Rudy not being here this season. Potentially, it opens up the opportunity for either a returning champion in Harry Banks, of course, or a newcomer to come in, like Blackbox, potentially to steal the title, because he has been doing terrific stuff, of course, on this game so far. Neymar, though, you are the luckiest one out of the four of us. You have got a full-time seat, of course, in Formula 1 this season. Looking forward to it?
Absolutely. First time in Division 1 and first time without the line. So, of course, I'm looking forward to see the pace and see how everyone gets on with it.
Yeah, I have a feeling, though, deep down, he's absolutely terrified, I think, in terms of racing a few of these guys in terms of full-time racing. I'm going to throw a name out there as well. RAC Elias, I think, has got a really good chance. He's got a very, very good pace about him on this game. I've seen him race, of course. I think it was in a qualifying event for a team cup, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and Elliot was very quick there. And I think it was actually for EML Premier, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was one of the two drivers that obviously were forming part of the lineup. He was very quick then. Nathan Clark as well, potential contender. Forza Brenda, or Brendan, as we like to call him, of course, now on TML and in LOE. I think he's got a good chance potentially. But I've never predicted the top three tonight, and I'm just going to go straight in right now and say to you that Harry Banks might take the championship win. But for my top three, I don't know. It's very, very difficult in terms of predicting the top three. Do you know what? Top three, Black Box for the championship, no pressure. Forza Brendan for second. And for third, I am going to go for... it's very, very difficult. Dara, I think if he's got pace, I think Dara could come up in terms of the top three. Conti, I'm going to come across to you. Your top three.
Yeah, I'm going to put Harry Banks in the top three. Elliot. And let's put a dark horse in there as well. It's not to be friendly, but I've did a few 5-lappers with him recently, and he's got some speed there. I'm gonna put Neymar in the top 3.
Interesting. Neymar, your reaction to that immediately?
Just thanks for some kind words, at least from Conti. So that's my words.
I'm going to give you kind words as well. I think you've got a decent chance, of course, maybe even finishing, I think, top 10 in terms of the title. I think that might be your overall hope in terms of tonight. Chicken, of course, you are a reserve here. In terms of a top 3, you're not going to be racing, I don't think, many times this season. So in terms of a top 3, who are you going for?
I'd like to say Forza Brendan, but he normally uses lines, so it's going to be a huge challenge for him. But P3, Harry Banks, P2, TTG Bennett, and P1. Oh God, I don't know. I will say Nathan van der Berg, because I remember racing a few seasons ago, and he's very quick on his day and can produce a qualifying lap whenever he wants.
Yeah, some of these predictions, honestly, are absolutely wild and wacky. I got, obviously, Yona on for F2 last season. I predicted that before the season actually started. Haven't predicted him this time around. I think he's got a good chance potentially, though. Neymar, I'm going to come across to you. Obviously, you can't predict the top 3, but what's your overall thoughts, of course, coming into the season? Because I've got to say, it is a very competitive grid.
Yeah, it's really competitive and a lot to take it, to be honest. So I can't really wait to see people's pace.
Yeah, will be very interesting indeed. And of course, you've got the lucky seat in the house, of course, racing all of these guys every single week, which is going to be very interesting to see. And I, of course, have got the privilege of commentating on Formula 1 this season, the only tier that I'm going to be doing this season for TML. And of course, that is on Thursdays at 7 PM UK time, complete with graphics I can report and overlays and everything else that comes with the package of me now streaming on OBS. So that is going to be very good indeed for F1 this season. And I think that is pretty much it in terms of our placement show, of course, tonight. To remind you of the calendar before we go, of course, and finish up. Bahrain, round 1 of the championship, 25th and the 26th of August, and then we've got round 2 in Hungary on the 1st and 2nd of September, Montreal for round 3 on the 8th and 9th of September, Azerbaijan, the first sprint race of the season, round 4 on the 15th and 16th of September, Spa for round 5 on the 22nd and 23rd of September, Miami round 6 on the 29th and 30th of September. Then we've got our only week's break in between the calendar, in between round 6 and 7, and then, of course, we have headed to Japan in Suzuka for the 13th and 14th of October for round 7, Monza round 8 in for another sprint race there, 20th and 21st of October. Pretty much before Halloween, we go to Silverstone. Hopefully there's no spooky ghouls potentially out on track there for round 9, 27th and 28th of October. Singapore on for round 10, 3rd and 4th of November. Mexico round 11 on the 10th and 11th of November. And then we finish, hopefully, with championship battles in round 12 in Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi on the 17th and 18th of November. All races, of course, at 8 PM UK time. Thursdays, of course, will be F1 and F2. Fridays will be F3 and F4. And Jamie asked a very good question. Who are the commentators, of course, this season? Well, we'll go in reverse order. F4, of course, are 2 of my guests alongside me in the commentary box tonight. Conti and Funky Chicken are taking to the action for F4. Currently, for F3, it is going to be Ivan Tonchik by himself taking to the action, so hopefully it's going to be good for him, obviously, today get experience. F2, we've got LRE Storm, and also brand new commentator and MFC Stumpy, who was going to be taking to the action for F2. That's, of course, at 7 PM UK time on Thursdays. And then you've only got me, unfortunately, for F1, which I hope is not going to be too bad. We're not going to steal too many viewers, I hope, of F2 this season. But, of course, you've got me, and that is at 7 PM UK time on Thursdays. A big thank you, of course, to Mr. Funky Chicken, Mr. Conti, and Mr. Neymar for joining me in the commentary box. It's going to be a fascinating season, guys. Your final thoughts, starting with Mr. Chicken first.
Comments on what? Sorry, I've just zoned out.
Saying final thoughts, what do you think is going to happen this season?
Lots of safety cars just for TTG Maze, and a few shock victories is going to be another thing to watch out for.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Conti, over to you. What's your... I'm going to turn the question a bit. I know we said about the tracks earlier on. What do you think is going to be race of the season?
The race of the season? I think it's going to be Abu Dhabi, just Marina Circuit, or Marina Bay if it's raining lightly.
Yeah, if it's raining lightly, if it's raining very heavily, and if it's like TML F4 back in the day, where it went from dries to inters to full wets, back to inters, back to dries in 31 laps, goodness knows what's going to happen to be on track. And Neymar finally... go on.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say Neymar and me had some quite good, memories about that race you were just calling out.
Yeah, I won that race.
He did you?
Yeah, I did.
That's a long time ago for even my memory to try and even concede that.
I carried Conte to a P3.
Not bad. Not bad at all. See, I've got short-term memory loss, and it's quite long-term in terms of that race, I think. It's another wonder. I think I forgot about Neymar's win there in Singapore. And over to you, Neymar, finally, of course, this season, Season 8 seasons in, of course, for TML. What are we going to look forward to in terms of the overall action out on track? Because all 4 tiers, I think, look very competitive.
Absolutely. I really think if you search for some league racing to follow, I think all the tiers you can really follow the standings in that, because it's going to be so interesting to see who's going to out of top and how the battle's going to play out and everything.
Yeah, it is going to be very interesting, of course, to see out on track how everything gets on once again. But I really hope you've enjoyed this placement show. If you want to, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you're new. Come back to this video in about 3 months' time and say, you guys got the predictions completely and utterly wrong. We don't mind. We can take constructive criticism as we go along as well. But a big thank you, as I say, to Chicken, to Conte, and to Neymar for joining me here tonight. We begin the season in around 12 days' time, in 11 days' time, in fact, in Bahrain on the 25th of August, 8 p.m. UK time. At, of course, on Thursday night, and then Fridays, of course, for F3 and F4. I've been James Headbell. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, and we'll leave you with our sponsors, of course, for Next Level Racing. Until next time, goodbye.